All right, welcome on into the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. This is Charlie Turner along with Chris DiCarlo and John Restino. Gentlemen, we are back for another edition of Falls Count Anywhere Wrestling, and we have a special birthday edition, if you will. And first of all, before we get to that, John, I got to give you a little bit of love here and a little shout out and a happy belated birthday, right? Because you told me before the show we did back in, I think January is your birthday or February? Today
January,
my
yeah.
birthday, and I failed as a host to even mention it on the show. So happy belated birthday from 3 months ago, John.
Thank you.
But it is Mr. Chris DiCarlo's birthday today, and it is my birthday tomorrow. So, Chris, happy birthday to
Wow.
us both, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
happy birthday, guys.
to us both. Yes, just another day, another number, though, right?
As
Yeah.
yes, as gravity continues, as we lose the
Oh,
battle of gravity as we get older. So yeah, it's a struggle, man. You know, getting out of bed every morning is harder and harder every year. So, but
right.
guys, we of course are always talking pro wrestling on this show, classic wrestling, of course. We got another great guest today to do so, and also talk about what's going on in 2023 as well. Chris, go ahead and give this gentleman his proper intro.
Okay, well, we are honored and privileged to have with us today a wrestling fan like us, long time, also been in the business for many, many years, and runs a great fan fest program with all the top stars out of the Sunshine State of Florida, as the Gordon Soley would say. Mr. Barry Rose, welcome aboard to Falls Count Anywhere today, sir.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. Happy birthday too to both of you, Charlie and Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you very much. Yeah, we're like I said, we're still on the other side of we're not on the other side of 50 yet, so we're winning that battle. But
You're
time is
just
enough.
kids. You're
I
just
lost the
kids.
battle.
I try and tell my wife that all the time. It's, I'm not getting old. It's just a number, and I hate my hair. So,
Well, at least you have hair, so
Yeah,
it's
I wear a
nice
hat
thing,
for-
Chris, yes.
Yeah. If I take my hat off, we're in trouble. So I keep it on.
It's you and I, John. Exactly.
Well, Barry, thanks so much for joining us today, man. We like I mentioned at the top of the show here, we talk some classic wrestling always, and but definitely want to just get some info from you, or just to see what you're doing in 2023. As Chris mentioned, you have the Wrestling Legends show coming up in June. I believe that's June 3rd out of the Sunshine State of Florida. Is that Lutz or Lutz, Florida? That's
so-
going to be put on there.
Unless you're familiar with how to pronounce it, it looks like it's going to say Lutz, right? But it is Lutz. And Lutz is just a suburb of Tampa, Florida. So it's about 20 minutes away from the airport. And it's a great little area that we've settled into. This will be our 10th show there. And we kind of take over. It's a great hotel. We have the show directly in the ballroom. And then, all of our guests and attendees also stay. And what's really cool about it is, it's not just the show that we do. People plan this as a weekend get together, and they'll come in maybe on Thursday. They leave on Sunday. This area that we're at, there's 2 hotels, multiple restaurants. It's like this giant lifestyle center. So you can park your car and you can stay there for 2 or 3 days. The weather's great. There's swimming pools, lots of food, and it's a lot of fun. But real excited. June the 3rd in Lutz is our 10th event. We've got Ken Patera on top. Ken's going to lead a 2-hour Q&A during our catered dinner. And it's something that we do that's a little bit different. We decided to do a Q&A, but at the same time, we decided to feed people. I love food. I'm all up, when it comes to the top 5 things in the world that I love, food's like right there, even more than professional wrestling. I'm a food guy. So we kind of incorporated the two. You get this Q&A with Ken Patera. At the same time, we feed you. And then we do 2 other Q&A segments. One is going to be with Jerry Briscoe and Steve Kern, and we're calling that 50 Years of Friendship. These 2 guys have been great friends for 50 years. They've worked together, and they're going to spend an hour. And we only sit down with about 35 fans. So it's really small. It's really inclusive, and fans get to ask questions. At the same time, I'm the biggest mark for this than anybody is. I grew up on this wrestling. So I get to sit with these 2 guys that I probably watched 1,000 times, and I get to moderate and ask all these questions. Then we're going to cap off the night with our after party. The after party is going to be the great Gary Michael Capetta. and
Oh.
he'll be doing a Q&A for about an hour. With that, we've got some other talent. We have the Glamour Girls, Leilani Kai and Judy Martin reunited. We've also got women's wrestling legend Joyce Grable will be there, and making his debut, Nord the Barbarian, the Berserker. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so exactly. Us. So it's kind of a loaded card, and the beauty of what we do versus any other fan fest out there is I'm not motivated when it comes to money. I love money, don't get me wrong, but a lot of these promoters are in this to make money. It's, and that's not it. I'm there to have a good time. I always say I'm the biggest mark of all, and I do these shows for me. So, to me, we keep it really small. We only sell about 100 tickets. So the idea is you can come up, you can get your autograph and photo, but if you want to talk to Ken Patera for 5 minutes, you're not going to have a line of 100 people behind you rushing. The idea is pay your money, get up there and have a conversation, have a compelling dialogue. That's what separates us from other shows.
That's very cool. I had a chance to do that once, a similar Q&A type of thing. She's almost 20 years ago, but it was with George the Animal Steel, and it was at Elio DiPaolo's restaurant here in Western New York.
Wow.
And a same type of deal where it's about maybe 40, 50 people in a room, and he was answering questions, and it's really cool. So anybody in that area of Florida or outside of the area coming in, you have a chance to do that. It's really a cool experience. It was for me with George Animal Steel. I can't imagine it wouldn't be any cooler, or it would be even cooler with Ken Patera, just as cool with Ken Patera, wrestling legend. So yeah, that's awesome stuff.
It also reminds me of Barry, and I don't know if you have been there or not, but the Pro Wrestling Museum Hall of Fame, Lou says that Mr. Gennard Soley, Jerry Briscoe, James Beard, so on and so forth, go on at Waterloo, Iowa in July.
Yeah, so I've never been, and I'm very friendly with Jerry Briscoe. Jody Simon, the son of the great Malenko, goes every year. I'm friendly with so many of the guys. It's a Florida contingent in a lot of ways, actually heads up. Gennard Soley, as you said, though he lives in North Carolina now. But I've never been to Iowa, and I think I can check off like 46 states or something. Somehow Iowa is off my radar, so at some point that'll happen. Plus, there's the one that's in upstate New York. I guess
there's one in Albany, around Albany area. I guess once a year too. I'm hearing through a friend of ours that was on the show, former referee Mr. David Dwinell.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the guy that runs that, Seth Turner, good friend of mine as well. And they seem to be doing some really, really good work up there also.
Very cool. No relation, by the way. I don't know Seth, but maybe last namesake will give us a hookup. Maybe we can get in there, But Barry, I also wanted to ask you too, as far as current wrestling. Do you keep up with any current wrestling at all, or are you just more of what you're doing?
You had on George Shire a couple weeks ago, and if you asked, and I didn't hear the show or watch the show, but my guess is if you asked George Shire that question, you probably got an earful. I kind of know George, so I'm not the cranky get off my lawn old man. Where look, wrestling has evolved and changed, and I still do watch it. And certainly my enjoyment is different than the wrestling that I grew up with. But at the same time, it's in my blood. I started going, and I believe you're all younger than I am. John, maybe you're right about there, John. I don't
52.
know. I say that you're a good looking guy, John. So I don't know.
Thank you. I'm 52.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, you're younger as well then. So yeah, you all are. But with that, I started going in 1971. And certainly you can debate if that's the correct parental decision to make. Certainly I've done over the years going, maybe that's why I walked around going Huss and stuff like that, expose a young child to professional wrestling as my parents did. But with that, it was ingrained in me. And I believe it certainly did influence me in many ways. But I started going in 71. So with that, while wrestling is completely different now, and there are certain things I like and hate about professional wrestling currently, I keep up with it. I want to say with the WWE, I don't necessarily watch the programming, religiously, But if there's something that I feel I have to see, I've either DVR'd or I go on Peacock Network and I can pull it up. WrestleMania was a 2-night event. I think I caught the last 2 matches on Sunday night. And that was because my girlfriend wanted to watch American Idol between 8 on the level of importance. And that's
Right.
what I'm really getting. Right. American Idol 8 to 10. And then I watch WrestleMania 10 to 11. I do watch AEW every week, though.
Very cool. Well, let me ask you about that because, of course, you're familiar with Dusty Rhodes and your time with the professional wrestling, but Cody Rhodes not winning the title at WrestleMania, did that surprise you? It kind of surprised us a little bit.
And so I don't think I was as fully vested in that storyline as the internet was. And it really, I'm going to cancel my subscriptions because Cody didn't win. I think the real takeaway from all of that is the masterful build that the WWE did in getting him over, to the point that Cody was getting booed out of buildings in AEW. He would toss his weight belt and they would throw it back. The AEW fans, which he helped build, they hated him. He goes to the Federation and all of a sudden he doesn't win the title and it's like, we're going to riot. So that to me is the real credit that should be given. Did it surprise me? I guess maybe it did. I'm also of the agreement that I think it was the right decision. I think Cody's time, if this momentum keeps up, he will absolutely wind up winning the title. But I think this was the right decision.
Interesting. Yeah, and I thought with the whole, they were bringing up Dusty a lot, building up to WrestleMania. Paul Heyman had mentioned him to Cody, Roman Reigns. I just thought it was a natural thing for it to kind of transition to Cody Rhodes winning the title. But yeah, it keeps us kind of at the edge of our seat at this point as far as, okay, well, what is going to happen next? And now you got Brock Lesnar in the mix. And
if you go back and you look at the Daniel Bryan scenario, and in a lot of ways it's similar. Daniel Bryan chasing the title and continually getting screwed. And it's very similar. And I remember, and I was angry. I was like, what the fuck are they doing with Daniel Bryan? Right. I love the guy. I thought he was the best thing going. And that was the reaction. They wanted you to be pissed that he didn't win the title, that he didn't get it. And I remember after, and I forget, maybe it was one of the big shows, and Mick Foley took to social media and basically called out Triple H and said, what are you guys doing? You're making a major mistake by not giving this guy the title. And the end result, even Mick Foley was swept up in it, a guy who lived and breathed professional wrestling. Daniel Bryan got the title, balloons fell, and it was the biggest moment ever. My feeling, if Cody keeps up this momentum that he's got, and I'm going to guess he is, he'll wind up getting the title. What they've done with Roman Reigns, in my that to me is genius. This is there for all the faults of the WWE and WWF booking, and I could sit here and rip them a new ass for the next 6 hours. This is something that they've pulled off masterfully.
I see it differently. I'm old school. I'm sick of the same old Barry. So I keep up on what's going on nowadays. And if we talk about it here on the show, but I don't watch it anymore. I watch the Royal Rumble and I watch WrestleMania every year. That's it. I keep up on the AEW and the NWA with Billy Corgan, but I'm classic old school guy. So
get off my lawn.
Hey, I've been a fan since. That's what I was going to ask you. You said 71. I've been a fan since 1980. I've watched it. Too bad I didn't have a VCR or beta back then from 80 to 86. Imagine the footage we would have today, right? But I've been a fan since 1980, 5 years old. Still into it and love doing this show with these guys. And it's my life.
And Barry, I wanted to ask you about, since we're talking about Cody Rhodes, I want to ask you more specifically about Dusty Rhodes. I had a chance to watch his documentary. That A&E has been pumping out these documentaries. It's been fantastic. I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of them, but Dusty Rhodes is just his come up and his appeal in the wrestling business. Just, the regular, the son of a plumber, right? Regular guy. What are your thoughts on Dusty Rhodes, man? What made him so? I mean, his charisma was just off the charts. What made him so special?
You don't have enough time today for me to go into exactly what, but with that, I grew up watching Dusty, right? I mean, I was in Florida and Dusty first showed up, I believe it was 1970, and he came back around 73, was a heel. I was in Florida going to wrestling when he turned into a babyface. And the beauty of what happened with Dusty Rhodes, Dusty had, and even, till his last breath, Dusty had incredible charisma. And even as a heel, he was doing things that we really didn't see previously. This guy was able to connect with the crowd, but he wasn't a typical heel. And the old story, as I always heard it growing up, and then in confirming it in later life, was Eddie Graham was well aware of what was happening because the crowd was like 50% behind Dusty. He was tag teaming with Pat Song. He was managed by Gary Hart, still beating up the most popular baby faces. But the crowd was really getting behind this guy. And Eddie, as the story goes, Eddie would go out into the arenas. He would turn his back to the ring and he would listen to the crowd. And by doing that, he was able to determine this is the time we're going to turn Dusty. The time is now. And it was May 14th, 1974 in Tampa. I think professional wrestling changed, but certainly what took place in the state of Florida changed. So I saw Dusty as a heel. I saw him as a baby face. And really, maybe the first half of the second half of the 70s, really to me, especially that 74 through 77 period, to me was really classic Dusty. I kind of feel maybe by 78 on 79, he was in complete Dusty mode. And it was almost like a Xerox copy. Like you kind of knew the formula of the match and exactly what was going to take place. And for me, I think I was, initially Dusty brought a lot of excitement, but I also knew what his matches were going to be. And if a 14 and 15-year-old kid can telegraph your matches at that point, it's kind of like, yeah. So at that point, I was kind of over Dusty.
That's kind of like a Stone Cold, right? I mean, he came out as a heel, but they just liked him, and that was it.
Yeah, once the crowd got attached to him, it was over. Yeah, you couldn't help but turn him to face. Yeah, and now Barry also being down in the Tampa area there. Of course, Hogan's beach shop being down that way and his restaurant. Do you interact at all with the Hulkster or been to the beach shop, anything like that with Hogan?
So I've never. So it's in Clearwater. He used to have one and may still have it on I Drive in Orlando. And I was there, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago with my son. And I interacted with Hulk Hogan, but of course it was a cardboard cutout of Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
I guess a lot of people said he was stiff in the ring sometimes, so there you go, right?
Boy, was he stiff this day, yes.
Oh,
Now, the other question I wanted to ask you about too was, unfortunately, we recently lost Bushwhacker Butch, who I believe also lived down in that area as well, correct?
No, he didn't. So Luke does. Luke lives in Clearwater, probably 5 to 10 minutes from Hogan's Beach Shop. And it was Butch Miller that came over from New Zealand. And it's a sad story that's got this little silver lining to it. So these two guys, Butch and Luke, knew each other going back decades. I mean, they weren't just a tag team. They knew each other in New Zealand. They had been lifelong friends. I don't think that they grew up together, but entering into the wrestling business at a very young age, these two guys were friends. So Luke, obviously living in the States, Butch has been in bad health, living in New Zealand, trying to get over to the U.S. for a few years, and various health issues, COVID hits. He's not able to come over, and he finally gets clearance to come over and comes over here during WrestleMania weekend. And it's the first time he's seen Luke in years, maybe a decade. It's been a long time. And I think he gets in on a Thursday or a Friday, had to take some sort of new medicine, or there was a medicine change, and he wound up having a reaction and had to be hospitalized.
Wow.
He got to spend time with Luke, and Luke was there as Butch was passing away. And considering their friendship, which wasn't, it isn't like Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, guys that kind of dislike you. These guys were real friends. Take out the wrestling aspect, right?
Yeah.
These guys were true friends. So the fact that his friend got to be there at the very end as he was passing away is touching.
Absolutely. Well, a tag team that we'll always remember, from the golden era of WWF, those guys coming out with the arms and the pitch stop and all that stuff. And really, really fun, especially when we were growing up as kids. It's a fun team to follow. Another team I wanted to mention.
You guys are babies. That's the whole aspect of this. To me, these guys are the sheep herders. These are the guys that were having, coal miners' glove matches with guys, and everybody's bleeding to the point that they have to be hospitalized. And it would be like if you took Abdullah the Butcher and you put a clown wig on him and you called him Abby the Fun Clown. And I'm happy that they got this payday, right? Because they made more money in the Federation and they deserved it after. But these were two guys that were really diehard professional wrestlers.
The Kiwi sheep herders, and they were bloody,
Oh, you froze there, Chris.
Yeah, bloody and Southwest Championship wrestling. I've watched them there too.
Absolutely.
Always the sheep herders to me. Barry, agree.
So I'm part of a podcast called Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry. And one of our segments every week is that we review a match. And we just reviewed a match the week that Butch passed away. And it was Carlos Colon and Invader One versus the Sheep Herders from Puerto Rico. And I got to tell you, if you want to see a match, especially the ending, the crowd and the Puerto Rican crowds, they're insane. I mean, this is a full-scale riot about to break out at any moment. You've got to see the last 10 minutes of this match. It is absolutely incredible. If that was me, I would have gotten in my car, gone to the airport, and never come back to Puerto Rico, because I would have sworn somebody was going to die this night.
And they're doing WWE's doing WWE Backlash, their next pay-per-view, I believe in a couple weeks. They're doing from Puerto Rico, which should be interesting. So hopefully the crowd.
I imagine it's going to be a little different than the way that the Puerto Rican promotions. Because if you look, the guards have like AK-47s. And I'm assuming, I don't know if it's the Army or a National Guard. And then the stories of people throwing batteries in the ring and hitting fans, losing eyes. I forget, maybe it was Butch or Luke, but I just heard a story how a fan threw a carburetor in the ring. I imagine the WWE will have, some sort of security measures in place. It'll be a different crowd than the ones that were going to see the WWC.
Yeah,
sure.
That absolutely. Now, Barry, you mentioned about your podcast. As far as if we wanted to check it out, where can we find the podcast that you do there?
We're part of the Arcadian Vanguard Network, best known for hosting the Jim Cornette Experience and Jim Cornette Drive-Thru. We have been about over 5.5 years. I think it's 290 shows. We have never missed a week. We've never done a best of. But you can find us. You can go to Facebook. It's Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry. I'm obviously the Barry part. We're actually wrapping up. We're going to hit 300 episodes, and then we're done for our weekly podcast. We're going to do Patreon only.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And then on your podcast, you talk a lot of classic wrestling as well, and what you're doing with the CWF as well.
Yeah, we do. It's kind of, we like to talk about it and joke, but we talk about classic wrestling. We occasionally will pull out a match that is fairly current, though most of it is classic. We discuss movies, music, books, TV, pop culture. We discuss a lot of food. I wasn't lying when I said I'm a food guy and a foodie. It's been a lot of fun. Jeff is one of my closest friends, Jeff Baldrin, and the show is an extension of our phone calls to each other. We're like, man, did you watch Emergency on Cozy TV last week? And did you see who was on? And then it'd be like, I went out for pizza last night. Let me tell you why it was good. And we're like, we should take this to the airwaves. Lo and behold, we did. And somehow people gave a shit. So, yeah.
Well, that's just like classic wrestling never dies.
That's right.
Food never dies. It's amazing. It was like, let's talk about food. And, let's be honest, for everybody, food, there are maybe 5 or 6 things that we all do. You know, we all sleep at night, right? We all eat is another one. I won't mention the rest of them.
Right.
You guys can figure all that out, but we do. We all eat. And if I said, John, you all live in the same area. How far from Rochester are you?
90
About,
miles.
right?
90
Hour and
miles.
a half.
So it was about 1988 when I learned of Rochester White Hots. And I had and realizing that is a complete regional food to you guys. And there was a restaurant in Florida, and a guy who was a radio host was from upstate New York. He's from like the Rochester area. And he convinced a restaurant to bring down Rochester White Hots. I listened to this radio show. I went to the restaurant. I got Rochester White Hots, and I must have gone for several years to get them. But that's the power, is that when it comes to food, everybody's got a story in some form.
That's like their chicken wings, right?
I was going to say, you got to come up this way. This is the wing capital of the world here, out right in Buffalo, New York. So if
now,
you're a
have
wing,
you guys been to the Anchor Bar?
well, here's the thing: the Anchor Bar kind of has turned into a little bit of a tourist trap.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
if you're up here for the first time, I wouldn't recommend them first. No offense to the Anchor Bar, much love to them, but there's other places that have gone way above where Anchor Bar is at this point as far as quality and all that stuff. So yeah, if you need recommendations here in Western New York as far as wings, we got you covered on that, man.
Well, and I bring up the Anchor Bar only because it's known as the birthplace of the wing.
It is. Yeah.
So I live in Philly currently. I'm actually moving back to Florida next month. And with that, if I said to you, what do you guys know about Philly? What would you say?
Cheesesteaks all day.
Now, what do you say?
I said Pat's, I guess.
What's the other one?
Oh, I don't remember, but I know they're close to each other.
The Philadelphia Spectrum.
Spectrum long gone. But John's right. So Pat's, and then directly across the street is Geno's.
Geno's, right.
Let me go on record to anger a lot of people within Philadelphia and the owners of those businesses. Tourist traps. But just like the Anchor Bar, everybody's, I got to go to Pat's or Geno's. And I'm like, no, there's no reason I can send you to 10 places that are a dozen times better. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, Barry, anytime you want to come back with us on this show and talk about wrestling, about food, I'm down
too.
That shit too. So
Yeah.
I'm all that. Anytime you want to come back, talk some wrestling with us, you're more than welcome, sir. And we look forward to seeing some of the highlights, if you will, from the June 3rd festivities there, the Wrestling Legends. If any of that will be available on social media, we'd love to check that out.
And you can get tickets too by going to Eventbrite. Just put in CWF Legends Fan Fest. You can also find us on Facebook, CWF Legends Fan Fest 10. And like I say, June 3rd is going to be a lot of fun. I can guarantee to anybody listening, this will be the best wrestling experience you'll ever have.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Barry. Mr. Barry Rose out of Florida, currently in Philadelphia. Thank you so much for joining us on today's show, man. Welcome back anytime you want to catch up with us and talk some pro wrestling with us.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All right, guys. Great stuff there. You know, we sometimes we do hour-long interviews. Sometimes we do a half hour. I feel like, man, we could have went a lot longer there with Mr. Barry Rose, but we'll certainly be sure to have him back and maybe follow up on that Wrestling Legends show that they got coming up in June. We could have him back over the summer to kind of catch up with that. But let's take a quick sponsor break here. We're about a half hour into the show, so let's check in with the sponsors, and we'll come back with some chic tweets, some clips, and of course our jobber of the week as well. We'll be right back.
Digits 988 can save a life. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, 988 provides connection to free confidential support. There is hope. The Lifeline works. For 24/7 confidential support, just call, text, or chat 988.
All right, welcome back. Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie, John, and Chris all here with you. And thank you again to Mr. Barry Rose out of Florida, today out of Philly, but out of Florida, for joining us today on today's show. And thank you again to our sponsors. I want to give a quick shout out to Patriot Landscaping, who, it occurred to me about 3 phone calls in. I was calling for estimates. I needed some yard work done. And this is not even like a commercial for them that I'm trying to because they're a sponsor, I'm trying to talk them up. But let me tell you something. They were the 3rd company I had talked to. They came out, gave me an estimate the same day I called, and they did fantastic work as far as hedge trimming, soil replacement in my backyard. So shout out to those guys, Burdett Hayes and his son, for doing a great job. Very, very job well done. And if you need any landscaping done, man, Patriot's the way to go. They're good guys. They'll take care of you. So shout out to those guys for doing that. But guys, of course, our show is never whole without listening or hearing from the Iron Sheik. And of course, our weekly segment is the Sheik tweets here on Falls Count Anywhere podcast.
Hey, Charlie, real quick. I think you sent me 4.
I
First,
did.
I downloaded 4. I only have 3 sitting here, just so you're aware. It's not your fault. It just didn't transfer, whichever that 4th one was. It had transferred, and for some reason it disappeared. So I have 3. I apologize.
We'll break your back and make you humble, John, for that.
I deserve that. I really do. Here, let me bring up the first one for you guys.
Camel clutch your ass.
Absolutely needed.
Oh man! And so this, of course, there's always a way to incorporate the Hulkster into the Sheik's tweets, and this is had nothing to do with wrestling, but then of course transitioned into that. It's official that the Writers Guild of America is going on strike. Also official, Hulk Hogan is a dumb son of a bitch. Completely random thought just to squeeze Hogan in there and call him a son of a bitch.
And who knew the Writers Guild was going on? I didn't even. How he knows. Good for him.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
I think they did that a few years ago too, but yeah.
That's great. All right, next one. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, we can all relate to this. We've all been on hold, and the Sheik way of explaining this in a tweet. Bank operator, you got a lot of heat with me, Bubba. You keep me on hold any longer. I swear to the Jesus and the Kennedy McMahon, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. I love how he tweets and the Vince McMahon at the same time.
Yeah.
But man, we've all been on hold, guys, and we know, you're listening to that hold music. They even made a Super Bowl commercial about it, where you're just jamming out to hold music for a half hour.
Oh my God.
I know that goes. Being on hold sucks.
That was great.
Jesus and McMahon.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Here, maybe the hand. Think about him, right? He must think he did everything for the Iron Sheik, I guess.
Oh God, yeah. Vince McMahon did refer to himself as God during the Attitude Era there at one point. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and there, last but not least, fuck the blue check mark. Twitter has changed, guys. Of course, Elon Musk has taken over things over the past whatever months, and some of these celebrities here are kind of pissed that they're losing their legacy check mark. Because now anybody can get a check mark. $8. I could go on to Twitter. I could call myself the Iron Sheik, pay $8 and get a blue check mark, and nobody would know the difference. So they put the profile picture of the Sheik up, and it kind of creates a little bit of chaos there. But people were a little bit pissed, and Iron Sheik said, "Fuck the blue check mark." I have to agree with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that lately, past couple days, all over.
Yeah,
I agree.
somebody that was really vocal about that on Twitter was Alexa Bliss. She had put out a tweet that because as I mentioned, it's very easy for people to scam on social media, and it's very easy for people to create accounts where you think it's that person. So don't fall for the bullshit, because now it's a lot easier on Twitter without that verification. You could be talking to some guy in cave somewhere and scamming your ass, so
You're almost going to have to make sure you know what the @ is. Make sure you got that @ because the @ is the only, I guess, unique thing anymore.
absolutely. And we've seen it before too in sports. Like there's been a fake a couple Adam Schefter accounts where they'll like a trade, and people are posting, "Oh my God, you see Stephon Diggs got traded to the Eagles." Like, no, true. It's like, yeah, that's a fake account. So might see more of that.
And real quick, it's happened to me on Facebook within the past year and a half of doing this great show here with you guys. Tried to reach out to who I thought was Dr. D. David Schultz, right? Well, the guy had the same name, but it wasn't the Dr. D. David Schultz that I was looking for.
It was Dr. David Schultz out of Nebraska. He's a gynecologist.
He wasn't even a doctor. It was David Schultz. Real name, so I fell for it, of course. But
yeah, it's hard to tell these days, man. You got to watch out for the scammers out there, guys.
You catfish. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah, but guys, okay, so we had a fourth one. I honestly don't remember what the fourth Sheik Tweet was. Jeff. That's all good. All good in the hood. Three's good enough. We're loaded up with three, so that's cool. But of course, guys, we want to get into our classic clips here on our Classic Wrestling podcast, as we always do, as Chris unleashes the vault on our program here. Chris, go ahead and take it over, buddy.
Yeah, as we do try to do each and every week, if we don't have a great guest and go over an hour, we have our classic clips each and every week. As a disclaimer, I say I do not sell these clips or footage to anybody across the country or world. These are my own personal collection, and I throw a few here each week to enjoy. And speaking of the Iron Sheik, biography last Sunday on A&E, our first clip should be of the Iron Sheik, John.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens here. This is like a random, you never know what could happen. I hope so. If I had the little sheet with me and I'm looking for it right now all over the place, that's why you see me turning around. That's why I went out, because that helps me with the time. So let's hope to God. If not, I'm sure you guys will adjust on the fly. Here we go.
Yes, it is. The Iron Sheik here out of the Houston territory against Hacksaw Ridge.
I love when he throws the arm at the people.
Yeah, remember, classic.
That's great.
Like, shut up, you.
I love his the interaction with the crowd is the best.
Yeah.
He's my favorite. He really is one of my favorites. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, of course, to us, it was Hussein, the Great Arab, on Maple Leaf Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic, but the Iron Sheik, there's only one.
Oh, look at that. Where is this, like Dodger Stadium?
This was actually, I believe it was somewhere in North Carolina. The WWF does not own this clip, and you see the Giant just manhandles him.
I think we heard one time that the Giant didn't like him or something.
Yeah, he made him humble in the ring for sure.
He sure did. Well, yeah. Oh, this is great.
Speaking of Puerto Rico, the Iron Sheik spent some time there in Puerto Rico. WWC, World Wrestling Council. And here he thinks he's Nikolai Volkov, right?
This is great. You'll hear.
Against Tony Atlas here.
Wow, look at that.
Uh-oh.
I can't wait to...
Listen to that crowd.
Yeah. Huh. That's the best. Shut up. Oh, boy. Oh, no. Here he is.
Oh, this is Howard.
Cameraman, zoom it. Can you imagine, right? We were talking yesterday about this clip. Can you imagine, guys, the Iron Sheik walking into Chuck E. Cheese, a Showbiz Pizza or something?
Yeah, I who was that guy? That was disrespect. Whoever that guy was talking, that long-haired guy.
That was part of a documentary, I think, about the Iron Sheik's life back then when he was, with the drugs and whatnot, back and forth, just to get money. He would do that, but just
so
crazy.
Funny. Those kids couldn't even know who he was. You know what I mean? There's no way.
I just saw the belt and went up to him, right?
Yeah, he was no Tony the Sheik, but yeah, that A&E documentary, I haven't had a chance to check that out yet. It just came out this past Sunday. They've done a great job on these. I always mention these documentaries because I think they're really good, and some of them they do a couple. I think the Sheik is 2 hours. Some of them are only an hour. Dusty Rhodes was a 2 hours one. That one was fantastic. So if you haven't checked that out, brush up on your Sheik history there. The documentaries came out.
Yeah, and we got two more to go. Here we have some classic Greg the Hammer Valentine.
You know, he had great robes, just like Flair.
Yeah.
I love the robe.
Yeah. And what, I don't remember any footage. I gotta go back and look. And Tori, this here is out of the St. Louis, Kansas City area. Greg Valentine going against Kerry Von Erich.
Wow. I was a fan of Valentine, I got to say, way back. I always liked when he'd come around. Even his interviews were good.
Can you imagine this though, guys? I couldn't believe it when I got this clip.
Oh, wow.
Think about it there. You got Bret Hart, the Dynamite Kid, and who's their third partner?
Yeah, there he
The
is.
Hammer.
Look at that robe. That's a great robe.
Yeah, the blue one was always a classic.
Royalty. That's what it looks like. I don't know.
Can you imagine that? What a six-man tag.
Yeah. Against these who are these? Oh, okay. That's right. Oh,
And then I go again back to Puerto Rico. Greg the Hammer Valentine here in a steel cage against Puerto Rico's own Carlos Colon.
this is so good.
Can you
Wow.
imagine that six-man tag, Charlie?
Who was their opponents there for that match, Chris?
Just some local All Japan or New Japan wrestlers. But
The Bulldogs and the Hammer. That's very, very rare that they've ever teamed up. I never even realized that.
me neither, man. That damn well they won that match.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge Bulldog there.
I think Valentine underrated, right? Valentine, I used to love watching. He was good, and like I said earlier, I think he was very good on the mic too. When they would, he was good.
Luscious Johnny V, the manager of the Dream Team, when he was with Brutus Beefcake. Very, very memorable tag team back in the 80s. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Hammer, man, that figure four, well, you mentioned the robe and also the figure four, kind of similar to Flair, but he had his own. I mean, geez, Greg the Hammer Valentine had his own legacy. And in no way do you ever think like one copied the other. They were just, it just happened to be the same finisher with the figure four.
Right?
Yeah.
And we got one more to go. Talk about classic, guys. Look at this. The tag team, Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo.
Oh yeah.
But Rotundo there with the mustache, it looks like he got beat up before the match.
Yeah.
Of course, again, out of New Japan or All Japan territory, the Giant Baba.
Yeah. Look at this.
Talking about, some great tag team matches here. Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo against the Guerreros, Hector and Chavo Guerrero.
Oh wow. Wow.
And this was one of my favorites. This was actually a great match. Rotundo and Windham against the fabulous ones. Stan Lane, Steve Kern. Just an excellent match right here. You know what I mean? Like two tag teams that you thought would never fight each other, basically. And we can go on and on.
Very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Chris, do you know where that one was from by any chance?
That was from 1986, the Metrodome, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Nice.
And who was that one wrestler, Chris? It was the Giant Bobo? Was the one guy?
Giant Baba, B-A-B-A.
Baba. Now, was he Andre the Giant Big or not quite?
He was Andre the Giant Big, but not as he was skinny, big,
Gotcha.
as you saw in that clip. And he was like their Andre the Giant.
Did they ever have any matches together, Andre and Giant Baba?
Yes, there is, against Demolition, believe it or not. I mean,
Wow.
your Demolition I'm sure didn't beat those two guys, right?
No, jeez, oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to dig that out of the archive one of these days if you
Sure.
have it.
I have it.
I don't doubt that. Very cool stuff, guys. As always, good clips as well there, Chris, as always, man. And of course, we also want to check in with our jobber of the week, our enhancement talent here on Falls Count Anywhere. We have a little bit of fun with these guys, but we always give them their due respect as well. As we always mention, it takes two to tango in that ring, man. So our jobber or enhancement talent of this week is Mr. Steve King, not Stephen King, the writer. This is Steve King, who is actually goes by his real name is Jose A. Rivera. I don't know what the A stands for. So I don't know if there's any relation there with the Conquistador, but Jose A. Rivera out of Puerto Rico wrestled under the name of Steve King. And this is what I found interesting about him. He wrestled from, it was only 11 matches, but he wrestled from 1979 to 1995. That's quite the span. 16 years, 11 matches over 16 years. So something kept him coming back. But here he is getting his ass whipped by the mighty Yokozuna. Head on the canvas there. There's another shot there where Yokozuna's got his foot buried into his back of his head or something like that. There's another picture down, I thought. But yeah, Yokozuna was no lightweight, man. And he tossed this poor bastard around a little bit. I watched the match on YouTube there. It was on Wrestling Challenge, and it was very quick work of Steve King there. But the unfortunate thing, though, is Steve King did pass away. He lost a battle to cancer back in 1998. So rest in peace to Mr. Jose A. Rivera, who went by the wrestling name of Steve King. But again, I just found it interesting that 11 matches over 16 years, something kept them coming back here and there, where they said, hey, we need a guy. Could you mind jumping in there with Yokozuna and getting your ass kicked for 5 minutes? And Yokozuna didn't have an opponent that night. There's no Yokozuna. So props to those guys for what they did, the grunt work back then.
Someday I want to ask one of these guys if we get them on here. They got to be willing to answer it. I'd love to know what's the. I mean, I know you're obviously fans of it, love it, but geez, I mean, just hop in there. I don't know.
And no, you're not getting paid that much to do it either. Yeah. But that's a good question, Charlie, for next time we bring on Mr. Jose Luis Rivera to ask.
Yeah, see if there's any relation there. But yeah, you figure. That's like I said, man, 11 matches in 16 years. You're definitely not in ring shape when you're that far in between matches. So, yeah, just a body to throw in there and get kicked around. I said, man, Yokozuna, and I don't think it wasn't this match, but Yokozuna, he did that drop from the second rope where he would just sit on the guy's chest, and I don't know who the jobber was, but there's a clip where he lands on the guy. And he almost crushed his damn trachea, man. Like he just sat like right on his collarbone, and you could see the guy like tapping, like, dude, get off of me. There was no script there, and it was it looked pretty painful. So yeah, Yokozuna kicking around Steve King there, but I thought that was very cool. But Steve King, Mr. Jose A. Rivera, rest in peace to him. But wanted to give him some love here as our jobber or enhancement talent of the week. Guys, I feel like we're a little bit ahead of schedule today, man. But we do. As far as like current wrestling goes, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up since WrestleMania. I got to be honest with you, the whole Bloodline storyline thing, and I know Barry had mentioned he loved the finish that Cody wasn't quite ready yet. I could see that point of view, and I agree to a point. But I feel like the Bloodline storyline now is it hit its arc, and now it's kind of just stretching out a bit as I've been watching SmackDown and Raw. So we'll see what kind of twists and turns go on here. We got, as I mentioned, Backlash is going to be taking place in Puerto Rico. So it's actually perfect. Our jobber of the week was from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was mentioned earlier by Mr. Barry Rose as well. And the Backlash pay-per-view taking place in Puerto Rico. One of the matches there that's been announced is Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. Of course, after Brock Lesnar kicked the crap out of Cody, the storyline was he wasn't medically cleared on Raw to get in a physical altercation with Lesnar, so security got involved. But they're starting to build up that match there. It's going to be interesting because Lesnar, he did win at WrestleMania, but he has lost some matches as Triple H taken over creative. And you really don't want to kill too much of Cody's momentum like you did at WrestleMania. I can't really see him losing another big match at Backlash. But then you got to find the balance there because now you're taking a win away from Brock Lesnar, who doesn't really need it. But I think Cody needs this match more than Brock does. It should be interesting.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Lesnar's a tough one because, like, he's the one that broke the streak. Am I correct? Right? He broke it's hard for me to think he loses to anyone ever. There's just weird about him. Like, I just feel like like him to beat Cody, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just a monster. And you
Like,
would think,
you would think it would take a monster to beat him. Where
yeah,
Cody
and
is kind of like the regular looking wrestler.
I don't know. Ever since when he beat the Undertaker, it was to me, it was like maybe this guy will now start a streak. I don't know, a streak of some sort because he's so big and he's so intimidating when he comes out. It's odd to see him ever. To me, it's like always odd to see him lose.
It makes me wonder too, guys, with the whole UFC thing now with Endeavor, which owns UFC and is now owner of WWE. If there's going to be down the road any type of crossover with WWE and the UFC, and where of course we know Brock Lesnar was a huge part of.
Yeah,
so that would be interesting to see.
Very interesting.
Or I'm thinking, Bobby Lashley going to the UFC because I mean, how much more can you do with him?
Right, and that's another guy. Yeah, and that's what we thought was going to happen at WrestleMania. Then until Vince McMahon got involved again, that they were going to kind of culminate Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That didn't happen, but those two guys, love to see them in the octagon. No script or nothing, just go at it. Beat.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get going here, guys, John, we'd like to thank our fans across all our platforms. Of course, here on our home on Facebook, and also on our Twitter is @CountAnywhere, which is growing, and we appreciate it greatly. But we also want to thank our YouTube there, our Friends with the Z Media Network. You put that in all together under the search on YouTube and brings up our YouTube channel. And again, not just this show, Falls Count Anywhere, but all of their shows that John does, sports and everything. And we're hoping to grow that. We're at 50, I understand. We need to get 1,000 guys. So we'll work on it, but we definitely appreciate all our viewers on all our platforms. And John, tell us about the Facebook program and stars.
Yes, if you are out there watching us and you enjoy the show, please think about 99 cents gives us 100 stars. Once we accumulate enough stars, Facebook has some advertising opportunities. A lot of stars we got to accumulate, but maybe we get them. We just keep accumulating them. 99 stars gives us $1, and I'm sorry, $10. What am I saying, Rob? What is it? The dollar. 99 stars gives us $1, and that $1, when we do get it, goes right back into our shows, our program, and all that stuff. So please, if you can, give us some stars. And if you don't give us stars, which is fine, it's okay. Give us a like, give us a follow, do all that stuff. Get on YouTube and follow us, please. That would be cool. You don't have to give stars if you don't want, but just follow us, share us, do whatever.
Absolutely. If we could generate any type of, anything that we might generate for this show, we're going to put into the show. Yep. So if anybody is willing to do that, it might allow us to get some guests on that might want a little payday to do so. We might consider that if we blow up enough, but as of right now, that ain't happening. So, but hey, we, again, like John, you mentioned, we appreciate all the support from everybody that's commented and clicked the like button or has followed us on Facebook or YouTube or wherever the case, Twitter. We thank you guys all. It's been great. Great to see, we have a humble following, right? We're not like national, we're not on ESPN or anything, but it's been really cool to kind of build up as we have. And, as we talked with Barry off the air and, just trying to build like that podcast audience is very difficult. And we know that the guests on this show is what mainly drives it, because we love to hear from them too, as wrestling fans, just their perspective on things and a lot of wrestling history. So again, thanks everybody for checking us out. Absolutely.
Facebook has 1,100 followers. So we are growing big time. We started at 0 at 1,100, and I thank you to everyone. We're going to keep growing. Please share us.
Well, yeah, and a big shout out and thank you to you, John, and your wife, Robin, our friend, who does a lot of sharing on all our platforms, the behind the scenes for this past year and a half. So, thank you to you guys.
Now, Robin is really integral to all these shows because she'll share 150 times if they let her. Facebook shuts her down sometimes, but it's just a lot of sharing. That's cool. She loves it. Thank you guys. The show's great.
Absolutely. Enjoy it, guys, every week. And we'll be back, of course, next week. Mr. Eric Watts will be our for next week that we're excited to air, that we've already recorded. So very, very fun stuff to hear some of his insights from his wrestling career and some of his experiences in the wrestling business. So stay tuned for that next week, guys. And hey, again, Chris, happy birthday, brother. Enjoy the birthday weekend. I'm going to try to do the same.
Yes.
We'll drink a virtual beer or something, but we'll break some bread eventually in person. But enjoy the birthday weekend as much as I will, because I'm expecting a hangover on Monday morning.
Well, we'll share that hangover in a couple weeks together, maybe.
There we go.
But yeah, John, we got our public service announcement, right?
Yep. Here we go. The YWCA, that's a phone number for our local area in Western New York. But so there is one in every county in the United States. You can find one. In every province in Canada, in their own little regionals. The YWCA is, women that are part of domestic violence, that kind of stuff, whether it's mental abuse, sexual abuse, physical violence, or all three. That's a great place to go. The YWCA will have counselors there waiting for you that will counsel you for free, and they're professional, no money at all. They have people called advocates. If you needed to go to the emergency room, you needed to go to the hospital, obviously, or to the police station, whatever, they'll go with you just so you feel safe. And they do that for no charge. So the YWCA, you have them everywhere in this country, Canada. Check them out if you need them, please.
All right. Very good information there, John. Thank you so much for that. And gentlemen, thank you again for a great show. We'll see you guys again next week, and we'll kind of just go from there.
Yes, thank you.
Take
All right.
care.
Take care.